Hey guys, fun fact about me, I am not a complete loser. I actually do different things than just review music and open figures and toys and stuff. I actually this year took reading pretty darn seriously because I got a few right here, and I even did audiobooks and digital books as well. So I'm just going to talk about some of the books I read this year because I kind of learned a lot and it was really fun. So let's just do it. First up, we have Atomic Habits. Honestly, really good practical advice all around the thing about, just kind of starting good habits compared to bad ones and kind of ways to mentally almost manipulate yourself into doing those good habits and making it into a habit. Fitness was definitely something for me that this book helped with a lot to kind of set up a way to continue to do it. And I've been using tips from this thing all year long, and it's super helpful, honestly. I've learned so much doing it, like using all the tips that are in here, and it's a lot of practical advice, honestly. It is, I think a lot of people would probably refer to it as a self-help book, but really, really good stuff. It does actually have, it says tiny changes make remarkable results, and it's honestly true. I highly recommend it to anybody who's trying to kind of improve on skills or being efficient in your time and working out. Super helpful book, honestly. Super good. Highly recommend this one. And next up, I read The Art of War. This is a classic from like forever ago. It's got a lot of wisdom to it, and I can see why it's a classic. It's the art of war. It's describing fighting. It's describing battles and great armies, almost into a Lord of the Rings type scale, and sort of strategies. It's loaded with strategies, but I think a lot of people quote it for the motivational aspect that they see it from, instead of it actually just being a book about the art of war. But that in itself, I think, is interesting. Not a lot to say about it though. As I said, though, really solid book. Would recommend it. It is a classic that everybody should read at some point. Sun Tzu, I think is how you say it. Really good stuff. By the way, the author of the first one, I totally missed that, was James Clear. So, just so you guys know, just make some notes. Alright, next up we have the Bioshock Prequel book. Yes, make fun of me all you want. I'm obsessed with Bioshock. Literally my favorite game of all time. It has a lot of depth to it, I guess. Haha, depth underwater. Yeah, okay. In the sense of like lore. It gives you kind of a background of everything that you would need to know, or maybe you're curious about while playing through the first game, because the first game kind of leaves a lot of things vague, which I always liked, but this gives you the lowdown of everything, why Rapture's there, where it began, kind of the background on like characters like Andrew Ryan and stuff. So yeah, check this one out if you're a Bioshock fan for sure, because I had a pretty good time with it. Some of the writing was a little but John Shirley, pretty good. Not too bad, can't complain. Alright, next up we have the classic freaking Ian Fleming novel, Casino Royale. Favorite action movie. Freaking love Casino Royale to death. James Bond's awesome. Daniel Craig, James Bond, I feel like. The other ones were kind of just perverted and nasty. Which this one is kind of a little... Some of the descriptions in it were a little much, I'm gonna be honest. But definitely check this one out as well. I would say, again, really a classic for a reason. The movie is honestly pretty loyal to it. The action that he describes within it is fast-paced. Like, Ian Fleming was very talented in that sense, and also the mystery and kind of the spy, suave kind of deal is really well written. He really wrote a great character here, and it shows. I mean, dude, the guy's had so many movies adapted from his books. Like, I could not imagine. So yeah, definitely another one that's worth checking out. Really good. All right, next up we have Fight Club. Wow. I'm not sure what to say about this one that hasn't already been said. I think a lot of people don't know that this was a book. I think a lot of people don't know Casino Royale is a book, but they both are. They're books. They were books first. This is crazy good. There's so many like deep philosophical like concepts that are being spoken about of like masculinity and like a man's place in the world and just society as a whole, just things like that. It's so hard to get into in like a quick synopsis, honestly, but this thing is freaking great. Now, will I say, which I'm sure a lot of people will ask, well, is the movie better than the book? And people will probably ask the same thing about Casino Royale too. So what I would say is the movies are better than the books because I like movies more than reading. But specifically for Fight Club, I will say that I like the ending of the movie more than I like the ending for this because I like that it leaves it sort of vague. But I also don't really care for the ending of Fight Club, if that makes sense. I don't really like either endings, to be honest. But the movie is a great probably the best ever book adaptation next to Lord of the Rings, if you ask me. This thing freaking is great. You gotta read it. It's dark, it's edgy, it's angry, it's freaking fun. So yeah, another great one. Alright, so the next two we have the Alchemist. That'll pop up right there. Did not buy this one yet. I've been planning on it, just haven't gotten around to it. This thing was, again, another classic. It was short too, which was a plus because I got it done pretty quick. The audiobook was pretty darn good. I had Jeremy Irons reading it to me on the audiobook, which I thought was awesome. It has a lot of really good like lessons to learn, like kind of like that wise man once said kind of aspect kind of deal, if you know what I'm saying. Like it's wise. It is a book full of wisdom and analogies that are very, very good, I think, to keep with you and to own on a hard copy like a book. There's a lot of philosophy in it as well, and wisdom. And yeah, I enjoyed it for that. The story itself is a little kind of confusing, I would say. It's a little vague, but I understand what was going on. It's all meant to be an analogy. The whole story is meant to be an analogy of some sort, which is awesome. And I fully enjoyed it for that. And it's definitely, again, a classic, definitely worth checking out. I really enjoyed it. We're down to the last one. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Again, I read a ton of classics this year because I want to read the classics before I get into the meat and the meat and potatoes here. I've just started recently, like actually reading a lot and taking it seriously. So this is just a part of it. Just starting off pretty much because I love movies a lot too, and I've been trying to kind of find a way to integrate both and to feel like I can properly understand the films and the books and separate them. So Fellowship of the Ring, I would say, is very long. It's very long. But I can also say the film is very accurate. Aside from having the Tom Bombadil character, I think that's the I can't remember how to say his name, is a character that they completely scrapped from the movie, which I can see why, because he is kind of a contradiction of like this person who's like, yeah, I don't really want the ring. He's like the only human being who just decided they don't care. Like, I think he's supposed to represent almost like anarchy or neutral, kind of like a neutral mindset, because the ring is supposed to represent evil and then temptation, so most people are tempted to it, but then evil and good. So the good people are tempted to the ring, which is evil. So good people are tempted to do evil, but then this guy's like here in the middle. It's almost like this person who's like just anarchy in the sense of he doesn't care about good or evil. He sees no line. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I've never really understood what his character represents in the story, but I can see, as I said, for that reason, I can see why they kind of cut him out from the film. But overall, honestly, super great storytelling. Honestly, Tolkien really, really freaking knew how to write a really compelling fantasy story and add a lot of depth. It's very dense, and at times, honestly, I found myself having a hard time reading it. I was just like, wow, this is a lot. But the movies are doing the same thing. Like, you really have to pay attention to the films because they are a experience from another world. You are transported to this world. Through the book, it is a different vibe than the movie, but they're similar. And kind of me seeing the films and then reading now through, and I'll be starting Two Towers next year. Starting to read through these books, it's interesting to me because you have the image of who these characters are and what they look like thanks to the movie. So it almost aids in the experience, if you ask me. And for that, I think it helps. Especially for me or someone who's trying to start to read books, I would highly recommend watch the movie, even though the movie might suck for some books, and then read the book. So you at least have an image of kind of what you are trying to read or trying to understand the reader is trying to make you see. And then you can almost kind of make up your own image of it as well. Two Towers is next. I can't wait. I'm also in the middle of reading Dune. I got through book 1. Like, I have the first book, and there's like 2 books in the first book, I think. So I got through book 1. I'm halfway through. It's taken me forever because Dune is dense as heck. The movie follows the book very closely, for sure, and I was very glad to see that reading through it. But there are aspects that are a lot more full of depth and explaining a lot of things that in the movie that we didn't really get a lot of explanation of. But we have Dune Part 2 next year, so I can't wait. And I'm kind of considering maybe not finishing Book 2 until I see Part 2, because I don't really want to know where the story goes, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll have an update next year in December, so be on the lookout. So this is this is all the books I read this year. I figured I'd share. Do you guys read books? Have you read anything recently that was pretty good? Drop comments. Tell me what you've been reading. If you've ever read a book, read a book. It's fun. And you know what? Audiobook or physical copies like Fight Club here, whatever you want, just do it. It's honestly good for your brain, and you're obtaining knowledge, and just read some nice stories and just chill out. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this completely random video, and bye.